Blog Talk Radio.
Live from our Atlanta-based headquarters, it's Couples Academy Radio with Hasani and Danielle Pettiford, where love is alive, channels of communication are open, and commitment is the name of the game. I'm Hasani Pettiford along with my beautiful wife Danielle, and we're your hosts. So jump in and we'll talk about your life and your relationships. It's a simple call at 347-324-3102. Or go online at couplesacademy.org and click questions and answers. Keep those brief and to the point, and we'll do our best to answer those questions as a part of our show today. Thank you again for joining us, and once again, that number is 347-324-3102. That's right, folks. It's Couples Academy Radio with Hasani and Danielle Pettiford, and it is an honor. It is an honor to have them on tonight, isn't it, babe?
Yes, it is. It's so exciting.
As one of my Southerner friends would say, we are hippopotamus happy, elephant elated, and peacock proud that you decided to tune in tonight for tonight's show.
You make me look a little bit cooler. I mean, good Lord. Did you really need to say that? It's like, come on, son.
I'm just saying, can I just be me? Can I just be me?
Be you, boo. Be you.
Listen, we're excited. I'm calling in from New York City tonight. I've been on a tour for the last week. Danielle's in Atlanta, and it's so great because this past week I've been traveling. I spoke at a college in Southern Maryland, and then I had a 2-day marriage conference at a church in Maryland, and tomorrow morning I'll be on the Bill Cunningham show for another crazy episode, so make sure you tune in for that. And so we're here tonight. Listen, we're going to talk about a lot of great things tonight, but before we get started, really quickly, our announcements. Our retreat is coming up October the 11th through the 13th. If you have not signed up, there is still room for one more couple. It's going to be an explosive, transformative weekend for any couple that needs to take their relationship to the next level. Also, Power Couples University enrollment is now available, so you can take any course of your choice based upon the level that you qualify for. And exciting news. Listen, as you know, we are headquartered in Atlanta. Just last month, we had a launch party for our Durham, North Carolina chapter, and as of today, we've got confirmation that we have a brand new chapter opening up in Macon, Georgia.
Yes, I'm so excited about that chapter. I mean, I'm excited about all our chapters, but I really had a chance to talk to the new chapter leaders there when they spent time with us at our Aphrodisiac event, and they're really lovely people, have a heart after the Lord, and have a heart to serve couples, so it's going to be exciting to have them be an addition to the team.
So if you are in the Macon area, if you're in the Durham area, or even in our area in Atlanta, and you're in a relationship and you want to, get together with other couples who are like-minded, who want to take their relationship to the next level, reach out to us because we have a phenomenal time and people really rave about our local events. But listen, without further ado, tonight we're talking about a topic that is on the hearts of so many individuals because, Danielle, don't you realize that there are couples that are starving and thirsty and hungry for affection and attention and having their needs met, but they're just not being met?
You know that we know because we were that couple, so we know all about it. And it's really, really sad to see some of the emails that come through Couples Academy to hear what's going on. It feels like a humongous mountain that we're trying to conquer, but things change person by person, couple by couple. So I'm encouraged, and I know that change is happening and change is possible.
So tonight we're going to be talking about the 5 most important emotional needs of a man and the 5 most important emotional needs of a woman, because we've realized that if you take your time to do all that is required to meet the emotional needs of your partner, you will have satisfaction within your relationship. It's quite interesting. Most people get married because they fall in love. Most people get divorced because they fall out of love. So something is happening to that in-love feeling throughout the course of the relationship that if we don't pay attention to, if we don't feed, if we don't cultivate, we'll wind up in divorce court like so many other couples across this country. It's an alarming issue today.
It is. That's true.
So we're going to start with the men. The 5 most important emotional needs of a man. Now, as you hear this list, it may not sound too emotional, but you have to understand that it speaks to the core of his emotions, because if these needs aren't met, it creates a desire that oftentimes becomes fulfilled by someone outside the relationship, much like for the woman. So the emotional need number 1, the most important emotional need of a man, Danielle, we've had this conversation before, sexual fulfillment.
Yes. Now, when we used to talk about this a lot, and I'm sorry, folks, if I'm talking down and low. My daughter is 6. She's not nearby, so I got to keep it quiet, but hopefully everybody can hear me. But I remember when you tried to explain to me how important it was, and for a woman, or at least for this woman, that sexual need is hard for me to comprehend the way that you explained it to me, because it's not my need. But when you compared it to my needs and said, even though it's not your same need, when you compared it to how I feel about the emotional need, then I was able to just accept, okay, this is a physical need of his just as much as I have an emotional need, and I need to take it as seriously as I would want you to take my emotional need. That's something that I think women need to realize, because I think a lot of times women brush it off like it's no big deal, but it is a big deal. It's just as big a deal to you as it is a big deal, the emotional needs or whatever any female's needs are to them.
And what we're finding is that so many relationships fall into a rut where they have what we call duty sex. It's that obligation sex. It's that, it's my responsibility as a wife to give you what it is that you're asking for, so come on, let's do it. Or we have that old shoe sex. It's very predictable. It's very,
old
there's nothing
shoe.
exciting
now that
about
is
it.
Interesting. I don't think I've ever heard that one, Hasani. Old shoe sex?
Old shoe sex. It's actually a category. Yes, it is.
Is it?
And yeah, but what it is monogamy for a lot of people has turned into monotony. And when things have become dull and boring and plain Jane in the same way every time, same position, same room, lights out, under the covers, wait till the kids are asleep, it just becomes so predictable that there's no passion in it. And then you have those that have that passionate sex, right? It's new, it's fresh, it's vibrant. And one of the things that's so important for a man, now men are initiators, we know this, but every man that I've spoken to loves when his woman initiates the sex in the relationship every now and then. Because for a man, see, men need to be needed. Men need to be wanted. And when we feel as if we're being pursued, when we feel as if we're attracted, we're attractive to you, it does something for us emotionally.
Wow, so it's the same. I mean, just as women want to feel, that they have some sense of self, I'm trying to compare here. So, a lot of times in a marriage, a woman will feel like they need to have their independence and have some sense of self, not beating down the man or anything, but having a sense of self. That's how a man would feel as it relates to wanting to be wanted. He is usually the one that's the hunter, and he's the one that's usually the initiator. But every now and again, he needs to feel that his woman actually wants him, and he wants his woman to take charge.
Absolutely. There's a phenomenal book that really talks about sex, between a husband and a wife in more detail in terms of what about the sexual act is important and what it does to enhance both the man and the woman. But in a general sense, it is an emotional need of a man. And if you are meeting that need, then it's often that he gives you what you want. Now, what's interesting about this, before we go forward, we've all heard the golden rule before, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Now, that's a principle that exists and works in life, but oftentimes does not work in a relationship, because you can't do unto others as you would have them do unto you, because we have completely different emotional needs. So if I'm meeting a need in you based upon what I think is important because of what's important to me, then I'm running into a brick wall, because I'm not satisfying you and I'm not getting what I want in return. So number one, a sexual need or the sexual fulfillment is the emotional need of a man. Now here's a question
yes. Before you move on to number two. When it becomes monotonous and it's the same, it's the old shoe, as you say it, does it no longer fulfill the man's emotional needs? I hear traffic in the background. Do you hear that?
I do hear that, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Well, that's a good question. In terms of the emotional need of a man, if it becomes very boring and plain it's not. I mean, it's not just about the physical act of sex, but what the sex does for the relationship, the excitement, the thrill, you know, how you switch things up, how creative you are. That's what's important in the relationship. So if it's just open your legs, bend over, here you go, that man is not being fulfilled. And I'm just being honest. So you know, I gave you what you want. What? I gave it to you? Well, no. How did you give it to me? What was your attitude and your spirit behind giving me what I wanted to meet my emotional need? So that's why you have to be creative, read books, learn about new positions, just do things that are creative that keep the spark alive.
And I think it serves both couples because, you know, just as the man needs that sexual fulfillment, so do women. It's just different. But we also, you know, speaking for the ladies, as my girlfriends out there want me to do, we also want, you know, our husbands to mix it up, you know. I mean, I know it's a little different for the husbands. You know, they don't make all kinds of lingerie for husbands. But, you know, you could be creative and mix it up and oil it up and all kinds of stuff, you know, something to mix it up because women also want to experience that freshness and newness and keeping it hot and exciting. So, you know, it does go both ways, wouldn't you say?
Exactly. I totally agree with you. And if we're both meeting each other's sexual need, everyone is satisfied, and we continue to give each other what we desire sexually. Now, the second emotional need of a man, and this is very, very important, it is recreational companionship. Now, this is a big one because it has often been said that men don't do relationships. Men do extracurricular activities. Men do sports. Men do games. Men do things that are hobbies, if you will. And so every man has an outlet. Every man has a passion. And oftentimes when men get married, a lot of women get, I guess you could say, perturbed because that outlet in her mind takes away time from the family, from the wife, from the children, and she feels abandoned because there is this need in him to fulfill this particular recreational desire that is within him. And so I think it's important for women to be able to give men their own social space to be able to have their thing. And it's not an abandonment of you. It's just something that he needs.
But Hasani, what if it takes over too much time? Like, aren't there some boundaries there? You know, I think about you, and I don't. You know, you love to read. You know, I don't see, and I grew up with brothers, so maybe I'm really numb to it. Maybe it just wouldn't affect me either way because I'm just accustomed to being around the male. But isn't it possible that it's just overboard? Like, I mean, aren't there too many hours you could spend in the gym? Isn't it there some time when you should say no to, you know, going to the gym and playing basketball? Or if you're a coach, for example, isn't it possible that you're spending too much time with the team? Like, where's the balance in that?
Well, I totally agree with you. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to motive and intent. And if you're engaging in any type of activity outside of your home for the purpose of getting away, for the purpose of not dealing with the pressures that you experience when you come into that household, that is a whole other topic because you're right. It will wind up becoming abusive in terms of how much time you spend away. We're talking about healthy outlets. Listen, women love to shop. Women love hobbies. They do things that they enjoy as well, much like men do. So when it is done in an appropriate amount of time, based upon some type of agreement that the partners come to in that relationship, it can be a wonderful thing. But a part of that recreational companionship, Danielle, in addition to men having an outlet with other men husbands oftentimes like to have recreational companionship with their wife. You know, there's nothing wrong. There are many women who love sports, who love sitting down on a Sunday afternoon and watching the football game with their husband, and they're cheering for the same team, and it builds camaraderie in the relationship. So while men have that outlet, they're also looking to bridge that gap and unite with their spouse in terms of that recreation as well.
And I could see how that would really bond you because I remember when we dated, our relationship started out very, you know, much as friends. And we bonded together. We hung out. We did things together. We went to the movies. We just really were really great, good friends at that time. And I think that, you know, having that foundation really helped us to have a strong relationship as we move forward and just brought us to this moment now. So if you have that recreational companionship actually in your marriage, that's sort of like, you know, a foundation there. That's fortifying your relationship.
So that's why I tell couples all the time that when you're in the process of the seasons of your relationship, when you enter into committed courtship, the purpose is to find out what commonalities, what shared interests and passions you have, because you connect, right? You attract to one another based upon those commonalities. One of the issues that we're finding is that men and women within a household oftentimes grow apart, go their own separate ways, have their own hobbies and issues and interests, and what happens is because they can't get that recreational companionship met in their spouse, they find it in an opposite-sex person, whether it be somebody on their job, somebody in their church, somebody in some organization they belong to, and that's when the betrayal begins to happen. So sometimes you have to be intentional of getting to learn and getting to like the things that your spouse is into.
I agree with that. That is so true.
Let's go to number 3. This is a good list. Number 3, the third emotional need of a man is a physically attractive wife. Let me tell you something. That's important. That is important, and it's deep because I was sharing with the retreat just a few days ago that oftentimes in a relationship you have women that are trying to change their men and men who want their women to stay absolutely the same. So 10 years later, I want your hair to be just the way it was when I first met you. You've got to be the same shape. Everything about you when I met you is exactly what I want in my relationship right here, right now. And a lot of times that's not realistic, because there are changes that we go through. Women have children, right? Fashions and styles change, and so women want to keep up with that. But what we're talking about is making sure that you maintain that attractiveness no matter what phases you go through physically, because men love an attractive spouse. For a lot of men, it's like a trophy. Wow, look what I snagged. Look what I caught. It's almost like an accomplishment for a man. And so if a woman is not taking care of herself in the home, but he goes to work, spends 8 hours a day around other women who are fine, and then he comes back home to that woman who's wearing that same old raggedy T-shirt, right, going to bed with that scarf around her head. I mean, it just doesn't look good to him, and it creates temptation. Now,
okay, Hasani, don't diss the scarf around the head now, okay? Because we put the scarf on the head. I'm snapping my neck now. Like, we put the scarf on the head to keep our hair soft and beautiful for you. Thank you, but I get what you're saying.
I'm just saying. It's one thing to go to bed with the scarf.
We definitely need to keep it together, yes.
It's another thing to rock the scarf as a style. I'm just simply saying. But see, my point is this. What's happening is it's good to have a healthy desire for an attractive spouse. But what's happening is sometimes men who aren't getting what they desire, what do? They turn to porn, right? They turn to magazine covers. It's deep because every magazine cover you see, there's this beautiful, sexy, voluptuous woman on the cover, and then you're looking at that, and then you're looking at what you got at home. You're looking, and what's the reality is a lot of what you see on these covers aren't even real. It's just like a lot of times.
And let me interject here because I also want to bring balance. I want to bring balance because, not to say that one type of woman is more attractive than another type of woman. To each his own. Your husband is married to you, and he was attracted to you, whatever shape, size, or whatever color, tone, whatever you look like. He is attracted to you, and so what we're saying is that you need to maintain your attractiveness to your spouse. Keep yourself together. Keep your hair looking good. Keep your, self groomed and manicured, etc. So, not to say that you need to be looking like some kind of magazine cover. Am I getting you correct, Hasani?
But that's my point. I think a lot of men have a false or a distorted perception of beauty based upon what they see on a magazine cover or a negative outlet, which would be porn, because a lot of times these images are not real. They've been sprayed over. They've been manipulated through Photoshop. They've been, it's just not real. And so they're looking at the reality, and then they're looking at a fictitious image, and then they're no longer satisfied with what they have. I mean, even when you see Beyonce don't even look like Beyonce. I mean,
that's why I thank God for Oprah, because let me tell you something. Oprah is airbrushed to the hilts, and it is quite obvious. So when you see Oprah on her magazine, you know that ain't Oprah.
And that's exactly my point. That's why we have to have a healthy approach to wanting an attractive spouse. So let's go to number 4.
But, you know what, I think there's a delay. I just wanted to add one more thing. At the same time, I think, just reiterating what I was saying before, that both the husband and the wife need to just maintain appearances for one another. And I think it's so important that you not get monotonous and, you know, get to the point where you just don't care what you look like around each other, because that was one of the things that was so exciting to you when you were dating, just the whole surprise factor in what are they going to look like, how are they going to smell, that whole thing. And unfortunately, you know, when you're living together, that goes away. But you can maintain that if you put some effort into it.
I totally agree. And if we do that, I think it will enhance the relationship. Let's go to number 4. Number 4, the fourth emotional need for a man is domestic support. Now, this I find to be shared by both the husband and the wife. From the husband's perspective, you have to understand, men are out working long hours, they're battling on their job, and then they got to come home, and then they got to battle with their wife and their kids. And sometimes men need peace. Men need to have a home that's almost like a sanctuary to them, where they feel at rest, where they can recover, they can restore themselves, they can rejuvenate. And a lot of times there's a whole lot of friction and animosity in that household. So from this perspective, domestic support means having a supportive wife at home that accommodates him and has an understanding of what he's gone through throughout that day. Now, on the flip side, for the woman, domestic support means a man not just coming home, kicking his feet up, sitting in front of a television and falling asleep, because what happens is a lot of women work a 9-to-5 job, and then they come off of work and come back home to a second job from 5 back to 9, because now they're dealing with children and homework and baths and babysitting and bills and all types of planning. And so it seems like for a woman, her work never ends. And women often get frustrated in a relationship when they feel as if they're burdened with the responsibilities and the obligations of the marriage and the family, while the husband sits back and relax and doesn't partake.
It's so true. I mean, there was this video that I watched where a woman comes home with groceries in a bag, and she had just gotten off from work, went shopping, and the husband is sitting on the couch. He must have been a stay-at-home dad, or maybe he wasn't working that day, I don't know. But as soon as she comes in the door, tired with bags, he says, "What's for dinner?" And she looks at him like he had 3 heads. And so, you know, that support is so important. I think just being sensitive to your spouse, and whatever that means, you know, if he's working all day or if you're working all day, just being sensitive to one another and making sure that when they get home it's a sanctuary.
Right, and I think that we have a nice balance in our household because we have schedules. We partake both in, you know, the domestic affairs. I mean, I don't really cook. That's really something that you do. But in terms of cleaning and making sure that the house is maintained and working with the children, I mean, It can definitely be improved, but it's a lot better than what it used to be before I realized that it was a problem in our relationship.
Yes, for sure.
So, number 5, we're rounding up on number 5. Number 5, the emotional need of a man is admiration. Now, this is very...
Hasani?
Huh?
You are the bomb.
Oh, thank you,
and
baby.
I wish you were here so you could hear me on time without this 5-second delay.
I appreciate you telling me that, but you know what? That's exactly what men need to hear. Men need to be encouraged by their women. Men need to be supported verbally by their women. And it's funny because I often talk about how so many women fit in one of 2 categories. Either they're makers of men or breakers of men. A breaker of men is a woman that knows how to tear a man down, rip into his ego, destroy him, make him feel as if he's worth nothing, calls him out of his name, you ain't no man. You know, there's so many men walking around impotent today, not because there's anything physically wrong with them, but the words that she spoke were like daggers that cut into the heart of a man and destroyed his ego. But then you have makers of men, those who edify and encourage and speak life to and support and compliment and let that man know that he can do it and he can make it. And even if that man is not all he's supposed to be, she can see the potential in that man, speaks to the potential until that potential manifests into its own fulfillment. And so that's what men need, admiration. And Danielle, I must say that you've always done a phenomenal job since the very beginning of affirming me in our marriage.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Oh, that's true. Now, let's jump over to the women. Are you learning something, folks? I hope you're learning something and taking great notes, because this is some good,
let's talk about
powerful
the women.
stuff.
Let's get to the women.
In terms of the women, there are 5 emotional needs of a woman. Mm-hmm. Top of the list would be affection. Now, for men, it's sexual fulfillment, but for women, it is affection. Speak to that, Danielle.
Well, I mean, it's cut and dry. I mean, it's the same as the sexual need for men. It's just that we need to be touched. We need to be held. We need to know that you're there for us. We need to feel secure. And that's about all it is, or all it takes, for us to be swooned and moved over to the sexuality side. See, for us, you can't spend all day ignoring us, not talking to us, not touching us, and then expect us to have that same drive that you have. We need to feel that we are loved unconditionally without all of that, and then everything else comes with it.
You know, what's so powerful is that oftentimes when men touch women, there's a motive and an intent to engage in sex behind every touch. And I must say I've fallen into that category on many occasions. And so what we're finding is that women who are naturally affectionate shut their affection down. They no longer touch their husbands because they know if I touch him, he's going to want to have sex.
Isn't that deep?
So I might as well not even touch this man.
Yes, it's counterproductive because, unfortunately, in the back of our minds, we're saying, if you are affectionate and you want to touch the person, you'll have a second thought because you know it's going to just go down one street. So it really takes for both of the partners to be sensitive to each other's needs so that there's that happy balance. And I think that we are just about achieving that perfectly, where we, nobody has a selfish motive at this point. And I don't think that couples in the beginning realize that their motive is selfish. I think that they're just reacting to their own need. And as a woman, having that need for affection and pulling back for fear that it's going to lead to physical sex instead of, just touching or hugging or caressing or some other form of affection, it's just, an unfortunate natural reaction.
I totally agree with you. And so men, listen to me and listen to me good. I understand you have a high desire for sex with your spouse and you can't keep your hands off her. But listen, you've got to learn how to respect her and give her the non-sexual touch. And let me just clarify what non-sexual touch is, because I've fallen into the habit of, when Danielle would be cooking and preparing a meal, I would sneak up on her and grab her butt. And
what
I'm
was it
thinking
about
that it's something.
A meal?
What?
I said, what was it about the cooking of a meal? I used to be like, how come every time I get in this kitchen cooking, here you come? What is that?
I don't know what it is. I can't explain it, but can I tell the people the point that I was trying to make?
Yes.
So while she's cooking her meal, I will come up on her and say, grab her butt, right, and smack her butt. And I'm thinking it's a playful touch, and she feels groped. It's not pleasurable to her at all. And
See,
so
now
you
some
have
women are thinking, I would love that.
Well, the point is you have to learn your woman, and you have to discover what works for her. And oftentimes non-sexual touch could simply be holding hands in public and walking down the street, giving her public displays of affection. It could mean cuddling on the couch and, running your fingers through her hair and giving her a back massage or rubbing her shoulders. Those are the things that really turn that woman on. And if you do it right, though you don't have a motive for sex, come on here, somebody, every now and then and again, you may get what you ultimately desire. Next.
Even if it wasn't at the right time. That's true. That is so true. And
Very
you know what,
true.
Honey? I don't know. I think everything is in seasons, too, because, during those times, because we weren't conscious of meeting both of our emotional needs, there was an imbalance there. So, you coming by and grabbing my butt or whatever would have annoyed me because of the imbalance. But I think when things become more balanced and my needs are met and my cup is full and your needs are met and your cup is full, it's no longer an issue because everybody is satisfied. You understand?
Yes, absolutely. And men and women, I hope you're listening tonight because there are some great lessons you can learn and tips that you can incorporate into your relationship. And we're just getting started on the female side. Listen, the second emotional need of a woman is intimate conversation. How important is conversation to a woman, Danielle?
It's extremely important, especially uninterrupted, focused conversation. In other words, you can't be on your cell phone, going on Facebook, texting somebody, watching a movie, doing anything. It needs to be an intimate, one-on-one eye contact, totally involved conversation for a woman to feel like she's being valued and paid attention to. Otherwise, she's feeling like she's being one-upped by whatever the thing is that's taking your attention. It's more important to her.
Yes, that's so powerful. Listen, men, you need to really learn how to give your woman intimate conversation. And you know what's so interesting? When men get together in their own social space, they could be watching a baseball game, boxing match. It doesn't matter. They don't have to open up their mouths at all. They could be shooting pool. They don't have to open up their mouths for hours, but they feel as if they've bonded. But when women get together, from the minute she steps her foot through that door to the minute she leaves, they're just talking and talking and talking and talking and talking because women love to connect. Men bond, women connect. And so your woman doesn't want to bond with you. Your woman wants to connect with you. And she connects to you through communication. And at the core of all communication and conversation is intimacy. And when you have intimacy, then you have a phenomenal relationship. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
The third emotional need of a woman, and this is almost attached to this really, it's honesty and openness.
I think that's self-explanatory. I mean, that's probably, I can't believe that wasn't on the man's list as well.
Well, it's important for a woman because it's often said by many women that for some reason they can't trust their husbands, that they're always lying about something, deceiving them, telling half-truths. You know how it is, if a woman asks a man a question, and this works both ways too, but she asks him a question in a particular way, he's going to respond in a particular way and hold on to information because she didn't ask the right question, even though he knew ultimately what she was trying to ask.
I mean, what is this, some kind of secret society or something?
Well, that's what happens between men and women because a lot of people have the philosophy, I don't have to tell my partner everything. I mean, my golly, can I keep some things to myself? Not everything is worth saying. But one of the principles that, I've learned many years ago that I've really grabbed and held on to is by Willard Harley, Dr. Willard Harley. And he has something called radical honesty. And he says that he knows that most doctors and clinicians and psychologists have a problem with that, but he believes that it's the best thing for the relationship ultimately, where you are radically honest about your history, you're radically honest about your present, about your emotions, about your feelings, and about your future. Because when you're not honest and when you're holding things back, it creates that invisible wall that many of us have around us that keeps our partners from penetrating and getting in. And so when the veil is down, when the wall is down, we can connect emotionally in a way that we never could before because we're open to one another and honest with one another. Number 4, we're almost done, folks. The fourth emotional need of a woman is financial support. Now, this is a big one, so Danielle, I'll let you lead this one.
Oh, God. Well, I mean, ultimately a woman wants to feel secure, She wants to feel that her husband has her back, that the bills are going to be paid, that the needs are going to be met, the children are going to be taken care of. Ultimately, a woman wants to feel like she can make her home a comfortable nest and warm and cozy. And so the man, traditionally is the provider. Now, things are a little bit different in this day and age. You've got women out there working and providing too. We're an example of that. We both work, we both hustle, and we work hard. But at the end of the day, I still lean and look to you as my security. I still need to turn to you and talk to you about things. And, I need you to tell me that it's okay and it's going to be all right and here's the plan, Things are a little bit different in this day and age, and that's why, you have the women and the men working. But the plan, I always feel like the plan should come from the husband. He's the leader. He's the head. Even though you both work and you both have equal right, I feel like that he should be the person, or you should be the person that I could turn to, and you're going to tell me, this is the plan, this is the way I think we should go. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? But I love to hear you having a plan, and that makes me feel secure, and I think that a lot of women would feel the same way.
a man with a plan, a man with goals. And what's so powerful about that is that just this weekend when I was in Maryland, we had a Q&A session with the married couples, and the question came up, what if your husband has a vision and has a plan, and you're there to be his support, you're there to be his helpmeet, but you have an opinion about his plan that may be in opposition to every detail of his plan, and you don't want to offend, and he doesn't know how to receive it. How do you deal with that particular issue? Now, because I know this couple and I know kind of what they're going through, we were really dealing with an issue of submission. And I know that for many women, submission is like a curse word. That's like the last thing they ever want to hear. But let me explain this so it makes sense. Now, when you're dealing with the order of the family, you have God, you have Christ, you have the husband, you have the wife, and then you have the children. And in that particular order, that is what the structure is. So it's quite clear that the Bible says that a woman should submit to her man. Now, the problem is this. Oftentimes you have very chauvinistic men that don't know how to handle that and abuse and confuse women and keep them trapped in their situation. But just as a woman needs to submit to a man, I don't know a man who doesn't submit to another man. What do I mean? Does not a soldier submit to the battalion leader? Does not a athlete submit to a coach? Does not an employee submit to a boss? So every man, if he is a man, has to submit to somebody. So it is just as important in that marriage that that husband submits to a higher authority so that woman feels safe in following the vision and contributing to the vision that that man provides. But we're living in a day and age, and I talk about this all the time, where we've switched roles. You know, there was a time when we had pretty women and working men, and it seems like today we have a whole lot of pretty men and working women. We switch roles, and because we switch roles, things have gotten confused.
Wow, listening to what you're saying, and I'm hearing the replies of the women. You know, what if my man doesn't know his left from his right? If I'm running everything, I handle the money, I make the money, clean the house, take care of the kids. You know, I'm not belittling a man, but I want you to speak to that situation because, you know, even in our relationship, we obviously I'm in submission to you, and if you have to put your foot down on something, I would definitely fall under that. But 99% of the time, issues and things that come up in our family and in our business, we come together and we come to a decision that is mutually agreeable. And I think that when you say submission, I think that women are thinking, you know, I'm going to have to do what he says and that's it. And that's really not the picture that I want people to get or to misunderstand.
The reality is when you're dealing with this topic, you can't have a quick statement that's made to bring clarity to the issue. This is an issue that needs to fully be explored and have a whole show around this particular issue. But to your point, Danielle, if you're in a healthy relationship, you're not dealing with some person that's subservient to the other, like a slave to a master, like a child to a parent. That is not a healthy relationship. And so in this relationship, yes, when it comes to a vision, you're looking for me to have that vision, but you are my equal partner. The fact that you are a helpmeet means that there are things that I can't do. When God created Adam, it was good, but when he created Eve, it was very good because she was able to fill in the gaps and she was able to complete, not compete, but complete him in areas that he did not have strengths. And listen, a visionary doesn't always know what to do to bring the vision to pass. He hires and selects and puts people around him or her that can help bring that vision into fulfillment. And oftentimes women have so many skill sets, so many attributes that really can enhance that man's vision and take it to a completely another level. So any man that's a decent man, that's a good man, is not that Archie Bunker, chauvinistic woman, get in the kitchen, barefoot and pregnant, do what I say. That's not what we're talking about. That's craziness.
And I don't think that's not what God would. That's not what God was talking about, because you think about the gift that the Lord has put in the wife for the husband. A lot of times women have this, intuition and this ability to see things that the husband can't see. It's sort of like having somebody, a man in the lookout tower. and your husband is out there, fighting the battle or out there making the money or out there dealing with the people or out there doing whatever he's doing to, lead that family in whatever direction. And the wife a lot of times is standing up there in that lookout tower with eagle vision, with eagle eyes, able to see in the distance, what you're walking into, what's behind you, what's all around you. And so for any man to take this position of dominance and try to, mash down or hush up, that whole shush and submit, don't say nothing, just do what I say kind of attitude is counterproductive, crazy, and it isn't what God had in mind.
Absolutely, and I thank God that element does not exist in our relationship, because I don't think that either of us would be happy. I think not only does it stifle the woman and shut her down and close her spirit, she doesn't naturally give to the husband what he needs, deserves, and desires, and he's not fulfilled. And so that's why there has to be mutual respect amongst both partners moving forward. I totally agree with you, Danielle, 100%. And I think that's the problem in most relationships today. They're very dogmatic. They're so for self. It's about me, 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 me. And people are upset. They're burnt out, and they're ready to go.
That's absolutely true. Well, we're going to turn all that stuff around here at Couples Academy. We want you guys to stay connected to us. If you haven't heard much about us, but I hope you have, Couples Academy has 5 very clear objectives. We teach classes to educate. We create couples challenges to strengthen. We provide a community to support. We offer counseling to repair. We plan collaborative events to entertain. And we want to connect with you. We want you to stay connected on Facebook. Visit our website and see what's happening there. From time to time, we give away prizes and promotions. There's always some sponsor coming out of the woodwork giving away something really nice to couples. So we want you to stay connected to us and keep connected. I said that already.
Absolutely, because you know what? This is the real stuff. So many people are thirsty and hungry for the truth, and we've made a commitment that we're going to provide it to them in every single way that we possibly can. But listen, as we wrap this up, we have one more emotional need. We won't want to leave this out. And
which
it's
one?
Family commitment. Now, it's so interesting that when God created Adam, from Adam came Eve, right? The children come from the husband, but through the wife. So technically, every man should be a family man. What we're finding is that so many men have detached themselves from the family. There's so many fatherless homes. 70% of all families in our particular community are run by single-parent mothers. They're bearing both responsibilities of the mother and the father. They're forced to be feminine and masculine. They're forced to be mommy and daddy, and that has a profound effect on the development of the children, what they perceive as normal, and how they operate in their own adult relationships. So Danielle, how important is a father and a husband in a family?
Good Lord, Hasani, you want to drop that bomb of a question on me and we about to close out the show? Really? Listen, my father was gone. I wasn't raised. I did have him until I was 7 years old, so I really was raised by him long enough to know the importance of one. And I was blessed enough to have 3 brothers to watch. I also was blessed enough to have really strong uncles all around me, all married and still married to the same wives while their children have all grown up. So I had a lot of really good examples around me, although I didn't have it in my own home. And so it created a really crystal clear dynamic there, that how important it was for me how important it was for me to have these role models in my world. And thankfully I was able to look out and see what it should be like, which helped me to choose a husband like you. Because I really do believe if I did not have brothers in my world, if I did not have these strong uncles to give me an example of what it is to be a man and raise a family and stand by them and provide, etc., then I just really wouldn't have had the tools necessary to pick a good husband.
First of all, I appreciate you for saying that, and this is a perfect segue into us ending this show and beginning the new month here in October with Couples Academy, because we're going to be dealing with gender issues. It's Gender Issue Month. So we're going to be talking about what makes a man, what makes a woman. What is the role of a husband in a relationship, a wife in a relationship?
And this is going to be interesting.
Oh, yeah.
This is going to be interesting, Sonny, because roles have shifted and changed so much. So it's going to be a delicate but very interesting conversation.
I want to know, and I think many women want to know, should they embrace feminism or femininity? Because there is a difference. So all of these issues we're going to be talking about, it's going to be an explosive month. They're going to be great, dialogue on the radio show. We want you to be connected with us on Facebook. Listen, Danielle and I, we have not made the announcement yet, but we are now the new hosts of Atlanta Live, which is an Atlanta television station here in the Atlanta area that really caters to the Christian community. So we're going to be taking this to the airwaves through broadcast television. We're excited about that. We thank you for your support. Continue to tune in, and we'll see you next week on Couples Academy Radio. Good night.
Good night.